Opening. There is a moment in every life when you decide to rise, to stand taller than your fear, to speak louder than your doubt, to chase the vision that sets your soul on fire. This is that moment. And here, we walk it together with stories that awaken, voices that inspire, and truths that set you free. This is Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where hope has a voice, and that voice is yours. And welcome to the show, everybody. I got to tell you, we've got a great guest. Again, Michelle, I got to tell you, we always have great guests. Did you know that?
I do know that. And how blessed are we?
We are so lucky to get such wonderful human beings who are dedicated to the betterment of everybody on the planet. And some of us work really hard at it, and our guest is one of them. Would you like to introduce Mr. Roy?
I would love to. Today we have Roy Cammarano here on the show with us. He has his website, which is his name, oddly enough, roycammarano.com, and that's with 2 M's. And thank you for being here, Roy. We've had a phenomenal day so far. How are you?
I'm doing absolutely spectacular, and that's a choice.
Yeah, yes.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. And you know, Rochelle, he is living the life that you would love to live. He just came back from a 13-day boat trip and went all around California and stuff, and he had a great time and got to visit some relatives and all that kind of stuff. So he's a busy guy, and but he also, if you look at his website, he's got lots of videos and lots of really good conversation and points that he makes and that kind of stuff. So, Roy, how long have you been doing this work that you is doing?
You know, I feel like I've been doing it my whole life. Starting out as a very young man, meaning a boy. My mom was reading L. Ron Hubbard and driving into Tully and a variety of things. So my dad was a very pragmatic and very practical accountant. He said, his big words to me always were, Roy, why is there always enough time to do something over again, but never enough time to do it right the first time? And my mother would be like, yeah, just it'll all work out. Just don't worry about it. And so I had that upbringing of being able to be very pragmatic when I needed to be and incredibly optimistic on the other side of it. So I feel like I've been doing this my whole life, but, it started early and continued on to a spectacular life.
And you've had quite the career. Would you like to kind of give us your resume a little bit?
I think career is interesting because in 4th grade, Mrs. Roll made me read a book called Helen Keller. And I'm not sure which was more impressive, Helen Keller or the woman who said Helen Keller was doing all of those things. But the thing I got out of that as a 4th grader is life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. And I kind of took that as a personal quest and challenge. I've been to 87 or 88 countries on a global basis. I've done all kinds of things, primarily because from time to time, I can be gregarious and be a good salesperson. So if you're a good salesperson, people give you opportunities that no sane person should have ever given you, which seemed to be the calling I had as a young executive. They said, can you do this? And I'd be like, sure. And then I write it down, go to the dictionary and find out what it was that they were talking about. Now today I have a competitive advantage. I Google it and then I chat GPT it, and I'm an expert on everything in about 5 minutes. But back then you had to work real hard at it, and you had to be really smart not to volunteer information that would let them know that you had no idea what you were talking about.
Well, but that's what a good salesman does, isn't it?
I hope so, because it's been working really well for me for a very long time.
And it's not that you're full of baloney either. You are. I was going to say another word, but I'm not allowed to say that word. But it's a matter of your intuition and finding out who you are and understanding the concepts, and that takes quite a little bit of planning and training and studying, doesn't it?
I think today we're really blessed with things like Instagram and Facebook, where all the time we have opportunities to learn. And everybody talks about always be learning, right? Listen to learn, not to respond. Consistently make investments in yourself. And, the most important thing that you pay is attention. But, when I was a young executive and growing up, I had to rely on very different things. But you had to be real observant and very opportunistic, because the world always gives you opportunities, and it's you either live at effect, I'm going to do something about that, or you live at affect, something's been done and to me. And I've been really lucky to have been recognized and recognize in myself that I have to live my life in effect, that I will affect circumstances. I will not be affected by circumstances. And I think it's kind of like when you walk into a room, you can either be the temperature or you can be the thermostat. Choose to be the thermostat.
There's a bumper sticker right there. When Rochelle comes back, we need to.
I stole that from a rabbi on the internet. So,
well, you didn't even have to say that, because he'll never know and stuff. But
but I do.
Yeah. Well, see, and that is that is what I tend to call integrity. If and I've got a little short that I want to play in a little bit, but when you're not doing things for anybody else, but you're doing them because you know them to be the right things to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so important.
Absolutely.
Because if you are doing it based upon how you're being perceived by other people, none of that matters. It has to be with how you're perceiving yourself first, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's that saying of doing things for kindness because you don't expect anything back. But if you do something and you expect something back, you're not doing kindness, you're doing commerce. And just know the difference. Just know the difference. Because if you want to do commerce, that's okay. As long as two people agree to do business together, then you're looking obviously for a win-win situation. But if you're doing things and then you resent things because nobody did it nice back to you, then essentially you haven't communicated effectively what you want back in response for doing something. So always keep in mind, kindness has no reciprocity except karma. And if you get it back, it's wonderful. And reciprocity exists, which is better than obligation.
Well, and kindness just for the sake of kindness is a really important aspect of living your life in a meaningful way.
Absolutely.
Just because you can. And kindness doesn't cost a dang dime.
No. I am in total agreement with you. And I have my moments where I'm incredibly kind, and then my moments when I'm driving a car and kindness is not the word that would be described.
I got the same problem with the car thing. I'm learning. I'm trying to do this as good as I can, but
yes.
But strange things happen when you're driving a car, and with the way other people view you and treat you and all that kind of stuff. So, but so you are now. Tell us what you are doing now to benefit mankind.
Well, I do a variety of different things. Obviously, I have some Instagram and I have speeches I do and books I've written. And I'm trying to influence and create what I'll call a legacy, something that I can be proud of, that when people look at it, I want them to be able to have useful data points, useful pieces of information, useful tools to live a better, more fulfilling life, live with purpose, live absolutely with purpose.
How did you come out? How did you? Is it something that you had an epiphany one day that you said, I'm going to live my life with purpose? Or has this been kind of a theme for you all the way along?
Started in fourth grade with Mrs. Roll. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. I went through high school. In high school, I was a football player. And I was awarded from my high school football coach, Joe Foyle, passed away, an award. It was called the Pro Award. PRO, and persistency, resourcefulness, and optimism. And today, that's one of the tenets of the things that I do when I go into organizations. I've been the president of 5 Inc. 500 companies. I've been the president of public companies. I've done speeches for Inc. magazine, Success magazine. I've authored books, authored articles, trying to influence and affect things in the future. And most of the time I've done that is because I recognize something that has existed but may not have been talked about. My first book, called Entrepreneurial Transitions, occurred because I was working with entrepreneurs, visionaries, people who are really trying to effect and affect the world, really trying to make the world a better place. And what I realized is that they were really consistent in their incredible inconsistencies. And I wrote a book about it. And I defined the four behaviors and the effect that has on an organization, starting out as an entrepreneurial genius, becoming a benevolent dictator, getting stuck in disassociated director, and then hopefully and ultimately learning enough to become a visionary leader. And I documented the information. I put it out there, and to this day, and the book is 32 years published, continues to sell. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it through me. I can send it to you digitally, but I challenge entrepreneurs and people working in true entrepreneurial organizations to read the first 2 chapters. And I tell them, if this book is not 95% accurate, I will pay you $100.
Oh, wow.
And you get to pick the percentage.
And that's putting your money where your mouth is.
In 32 years, I've never had anybody ask for their money. In fact, many people have said, well, instead of you giving me the $100, what should I do with it? And I say, give it to charity. So there's been lots of charitable donations because the entrepreneurs are incredibly consistent. They want to change the world, and they do this. And the really, really good ones, continue to learn and adopt. And even if they have a stumble, they come back even stronger. And the easiest example to give with that would be, Steve Jobs, who there was no doubt that, he was the founder of Apple. There was no doubt that he was a marketing genius. There was no doubt that he's a product genius. There was no doubt that he was a person who absolutely understood what consumers would want, even if they didn't want. Where the doubt was whether or not he could actually run a company. And he got thrown out of Apple, started Next, then came back to Apple. And in those great learning moments of consistently going to things, what we ended up with is a modern day philosopher and a person who absolutely, at least when you color the lenses of looking at him in social media, had some incredible good things to do. He was also a person who had a reality distortion field around him where he wouldn't admit to some of the most basic things. But in here is that you get to choose in your life whether you're going to focus on the good that people bring or the bad that people bring. What I'm going to tell you is find the good, attract the good, continue to strive for good, then you can be good. And then after you are good, then you can do good. And that's kind of where I'm at in my life, is I'm going to try and do good.
Roy, I got to tell you, then we are lucky here in the United States, and that we start from a various place. But there are some places in the country, or in the world, that they don't get. They don't get that, and there are some people that have started out. Rochelle's smiling because she knows where I'm going with this. There are some people that start out being homeless and scrambling on the streets just to survive, and then they decide that they're going to make a difference in the world. And the gentleman that is becoming a regular part of our show at one point or another is that guy. And Rochelle, would you like to read the message that he's got for us today? Oh, you're silent, dear.
There we go. I'm fighting this. If it happens again, I will make it simple. But hi, Samuel. We love you so much. He says, greetings, Brother Kevin McDonald, my sister from another mother, Rochelle, and guest Roy Cammarano receive greetings from Kaibiria slums in Nairobi, Kenya. From me and my team sitting and watching this favorite program on Positive Talk Radio. We love this too much. It's midnight right now, but we're in the center watching and preparing for tomorrow's Saturday feeding program. God bless you, brother and Kevin's sister, Rochelle. Inspirational program for Kaibiria is tuned in. And, I have to tell you, Troy, because so many of us will use our life and our experiences as maybe an excuse or a downfall, when really we can be using those to catapult us further because we have the understanding and we've had those experiences. So I'm thankful that you're here, and I'm thankful that Samuel gets to share this message with us in Kenya as well, to teach kids and themselves that what you're doing is more than you will give it to the world.
And Rochelle, your audio is cutting out, and I don't know why.
Okay, well, I'll switch over. I promised I'd make this smooth, so if you don't see me on camera, that's why, but I'll let Kevin take us into break. Roy, I am fully involved in here in the conversation with you. It's just you and Kevin get to show your beautiful faces this time.
And it's like he's my brother from another mother.
Yeah,
Yes,
which is why I have a radio face.
And we need to take our break, and I want to talk a little bit about integrity and see what Roy has to say about that. And Rochelle, I'll see you back in one way or t'other.
Yep, I'll be here.
Here's another point to ponder from Positive Talk Radio. What is the easiest thing to justify? It is a small transgression, the one no one will ever see, no one will ever know. The tiny exaggeration on the expense report, the extra minute you took on your lunch break, the packaging you tossed in the wrong recycle bin because it was closer. In those moments, the question isn't, will I get caught? The question is, will I know? It isn't about avoiding punishment. It's a silent agreement you make with yourself when you choose to do the right thing, to return the wallet, to fix the mistake, to respect the empty space. You aren't impressing the world. You're earning your own respect. That small choice, made entirely in private, is how you build a life you never have to look away from. The only audience that matters is you. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Roy Cammarano, and my name is Kevin McDonald, and Rochelle is here somewhere in the Ethernet or somewhere. And so, Roy, what did you think of that? And what do you think? How important is integrity in all the things you've done, being up to and including a benevolent dictator? I used to use that term all the time.
Integrity is not circumstantial. Okay, circumstances react to integrity. Integrity should not react to circumstances. And I think it's a really important part of you have to be true to yourself. There's lots of different ways and lots of different places to say this, but be congruent. Be who you are. Constantly learn. Constantly look to learn. Don't take yourself too seriously, but take the way in which you contribute to life as seriously as you can. And it becomes a different conversation about the term integrity, because what you want to have is being an integrous person is just understand that we're human, and there will be times where we do things that we're not proud of, and there'll be times when we're doing things that we're incredibly proud of, and sometimes when we're doing the things we're really proud of, it comes across as arrogant and braggadocious and prideful. So we've got to be really careful. The whole component there is to do the things that are absolutely will withstand the test of time, which is, if your mom saw you do it, would you still do it? If Jesus saw you do it, would you still do it? And, if you saw yourself doing it, would you still do it? Mm-hmm. If somebody was going to put this on the 6 o'clock news, is this something we have all of these things that we've heard all of our lives where we really want to talk about have high integrity. And then in the United States, we have George Washington, who never told a lie, right? Well, I'm pretty sure that was a lie. So we've got to be really careful, because integrity is the ability to lie with a straight face. And we constantly lie to ourselves, right? I'll lose 30 pounds. I'll do this. I'll do that. I truly believed in the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all gotta hold on with that one, though, because me and the Easter Bunny know each other exists.
Girl, absolutely.
Roy, I've seen him. I know what you mean. But it's also like seeing the other version of yourself that shines through and has that power and doesn't have the beliefs that people have instilled into you. It's what you're capable of, but also, like you said, the understanding of, hey, I'm human. I can take this mistake and I can hide, or I can take this mistake and I can run with it and help other people further. And was that kind of the background of your thinking when it
Yeah.
came to learning?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to be continuously learning. If you're not, right, nature teaches us this. If you're not learning, you're rotting. So if you look at a banana, the banana is either ripening or it's rotting. We get, as humans, to choose to ripen our entire lives. We get the opportunity to choose to do things. You see a picture of a 70-year-old person or an 80-year-old person who's fit and in shape versus a 70 or 80-year-old person who's in a wheelchair. And yes, there's circumstances, there's health, there's anything we want, but it's the inside that matters. And when we had your friend from Kenya on, right? Where we are born has a huge ability to what we can actually accomplish in the external world, but it doesn't change based on the internal world. You can always be a good person. You can always do things for other people. You can always be the person who's trying to help and contribute. And, I think that I've been beyond lucky. I tell people all the time, God looked down and said, let's see, I need to bless somebody. I'm going to bless that one. And it's been me, because oftentimes throughout my life, I go, oh my God, why would you give me that? But I don't say that out loud. I say, great, I'll do the best I can with that, and those types of things. And I know from my own life, when I get too arrogant, God gives me an incredible learning experience. A couple of years ago, I was a guest on an international podcast, and from the guys in Australia, and I've been working all day, and I wanted to do a good impression. And before that, I had to run an errand, and I was running across a parking lot. And as I ran across the parking lot, I looked on the ground and I said, MO7S, what the heck is MO7S? And I kept looking at it, I said, this is ridiculous. So I said, well, I have Google. So I Googled it, MO7S. I'm like, it's a scientific term. And I'm like, that makes no sense to me. And I continued on my way. And just as I went to walk in the door, I said, well, I got to know what that is. And I turned back to look at it. Now I had passed it. When I looked back on it, slow. Written on the parking lot ground. I'm like, okay, there you go. You cannot take yourself too seriously. What you can do is, but my curiosity mind was like, I don't understand this. I'm going to take immediate action to find out what that is. And in today's society, we can take an immediate action. I can look at Google. I can look at that. But that curiosity, that thing that you're constantly trying to learn, that's the thing that I really want people to understand, is that if you're in a continuous learning environment, if you're always looking to improve, then you're always ripening. You're never rotting.
There's another bumper sticker. By the way, Burchell, he's got a ton. He's got a ton of them.
That's why I put in the chat, ignore all these notes, because as he's speaking, I'm trying to listen and type it fast enough. But one of the things you said, Roy, that a lot of us don't see is opportunity. And you not only had opportunities come into your view, but you got to decide how you were perceiving it.
Yeah, we all get that choice. It's called a reticular activator. If you look again back to nature, back to animals, right? And you're looking for things, and you're a frog, and you're sitting on a thing, and a fly flies by. You're not actively looking for flies, but you see it and you grab it. You know this as a human, because as a human, you say, "Oh, I think I'm going to try and buy a white Toyota." And you say, oh, it's a unique car. The next 2, 3, 4, 5 days, as you're driving down the road, you cannot believe the number of white Toyotas that are driving by you.
Exactly.
Number of white cars, because it's suddenly that thing of what we're looking for is there. So if you just look for opportunity, the world is going to provide you with opportunity. If you look for problems, the world is going to, the universe is going to provide you. I have this thing that is, the universe will provide that which you focus upon. And we talk about being grateful, right? I have all kinds of reasons to be grateful. I have no reasons not to be grateful every single day, what I do, where I'm at, all those things. But it becomes a matter of what we choose to look for in the world. And I think that's a really fundamental thing. And it's also part of the persistency, resourcefulness, and optimism, that pro award that I won, when I was a 17-year-old high school senior, that optimism, that ability to be optimistic. So I took that into enterprise and into corporation. So I've had the opportunity to be interim CEO of about 11 different companies. And in doing that, I have 3 business rules, right? And those 3 business rules are really simple: positive expectancy, brilliance, and accomplishment. And all day long, that's what I'm looking for from the people I'm working with, from the customers we're interacting with, from the vendors that we're having with, is I want positive expectancy. This is going to work out. We're going to find a way to solve this problem. The answer is always yes. If you watch Jocko, we have a problem. He says, good. It's that if you go to the core of many, many, many things, it's that ability to just see what's happening and look for the good and make it happen. Brilliance. People are brilliant all day long. People are brilliant all day long. You're on the telephone and you get 1,000 calls in. It's repetitive. But the person who's calling in, it's their one of your 1,000. So your job is to be as effective with that person as you possibly can, right? And accomplishments, that's a wooden conversation. Guy who won 10 NCAA championships at UCLA. He talked about accomplishment versus activity. Spent a lot of our day going around doing a lot of activities, but it's really about accomplishment. So,
Rochelle?
Yes. Well, there's 100,000 things going through my head because I think the realization Kevin told me, well, you get to choose. And I was like, what? What is it? What, how and why? I don't understand. Because for some of us, well, a lot of us, I realized is we can see so many perspectives of things.
mm-hmm.
But then when we choose, it's because we have a why. There's purpose, there's meaning, there's something that sends you through the roof and makes your gut and your soul feel what your mind and the rest of you can't really even understand. Is
Mm-hmm.
that what you felt, and is that what you've kind of stuck with, and is that what you help people understand? Is there's
I think it's giving people the
bubbling through
opportunity.
you.
Well, I think you're onto something. It's giving people the opportunity to allow them to make the choices in life. Tony Robbins says, if you don't like your life, make new choices, right? There's a lot of that conversation. I wrote a book on decision making. I have a card here that talks about 6 steps to effective decision making and how people can live their lives. I have a tool. It's called Be Open, Honest, and Direct in a positive, nurturing environment. So it has a denominator in a positive, nurturing environment. That my job as a leader and my job as a person, is my job as a friend, my job as just a human, is to create a positive, nurturing environment where other people are always uplifted every single day, because that's what you have to give to the world. So when people don't know what to do, it becomes one of those, how do you help them make that decision? I think your why was really critical. That's a Simon Sinek, right? Find your why. I think people and organizations, if they just use this tool, they would be so much more effective. What are we going to do? Why are we going to do it? How are we going to do that? Who are we going to do that with? And when do we want that done by? And if you just looked at everything in that easy way, and you can do your why first or your what, but if you just had all of them, deciding what you're doing, understanding why you're doing it, figuring out how to do it, who you're doing it with, when it needs to be done with, and then you go to the next level, how do people learn? And you talk about there's why people, there's what people, there's how people, there's who people, there's when people, then you can provide your information to that person so they can learn it as quickly and effectively as possible. But consistently, it means as a leader, your only job is to serve others. And I think Simon Sinek right now is probably the leading authority on talking about this, on being able to be of service and in service of people when you're a leader.
Ooh, okay. So, first of all, you got me started, boy. So you better be prepared. Kevin knows how this goes. So I love to see the card that you showed us and some of those steps and the understanding to it, because that one simple, teeny tiny little card could be huge to other people, which is why you created it. But also, when we come back from the break after we share your card, there's a point in us where we question why we change. And I think a lot of times when you go through these processes, the change is what's supposed to happen, right? Because your first view might change a little bit down the road, and you have to evaluate and readjust, and you have to meet where you've built up to. And sometimes I've realized that that's where we get stuck, because we already were open to the change once. So if it happens again, it might not go right. So I just threw a bunch of stuff in your brain. I'm so sorry for that. But let's talk about that card real quick before we go to break. Can you show it to us again?
I can do my best.
Okay.
It is from a book. It's the 6 steps to effective decision making.
I've
Step
heard
1,
that.
evaluate. Step 2, discuss. Step 3, determine. Step 4, decide. Step 5, plan. Step 6, implement. And then you go right back to evaluate. And then there's some helpful hints in each of those. And probably the most important one is, while you're evaluating and now you're having discussions, the first thing you have to do is disassociate from your emotion.
Yeah.
Get additional perspectives from other people, and then validate that information. And this is that, Kevin, you're going to say something?
Well, I was just going to ask, is this on your website that we can reference that?
Yeah, it is. And these cards, they're on this side is my 6 steps to effective decision, or the 6 C's of communication. If you're in conflict and competition, you're going to fail. If you're in compliance and communication, you'll succeed. If you're in cooperation, you'll in collaboration, you'll prosper. If you're in conflict and competition, you're having an argument, you're trying to see who's winning. If you're in compliance and conversation, you're having a conversation, you'll succeed. And if you're in cooperation and collaboration, you're in a discussion. And one is in an argument, you want to be right. In a conversation, you want to figure out what's right. And in cooperation and collaboration, you want to do what's right. And I clearly want people to always do what's right.
Kevin's taught me all about that. So
Well, yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but in our country right now, we don't have a lot of do what's right. We have a lot of arguments that have got no resolution to them because nobody wants to look at another point of view,
right?
Other than their own, that in some cases has been given to them by other people, and stuff. By the way, we're talking with Roy Cammarano, and he's Michelle. He's a pretty bright guy, isn't he?
I'd say he's kind of a lot like you, which means a whole lot of something to me. So I'd love for you guys to continue on this perspection of change. Because no matter what age or status that you're at in your life, I think we struggle with allowing that. And Kevin's always telling me, well, child, if you just let it be, the change is what is meant for you. And damn it, I'm trying to understand. So thanks, Kevin.
and Roy, we will be right back after this. But actually, right. I think he thinks faster than I do. That's because I don't know. Yeah,
he thinks possible. Faster. We love you.
And we'll be
me too.
We'll be right back with Roy, and you're gonna have to come get me, and we'll get on your boat, and we'll go for a.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah. You better.
So we'll be right back, everybody.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
And welcome back, everybody. I was supposed to play a commercial, but I'm not going to because Roy is so interesting to talk to. But there was a comment and Samuel, who is still listening, asked a question, and I wanted to because I was going to ask the same dang question, although he's in Kenya, and so football to him is a whole different sport.
Correct.
Than it is to us. Football in his world is soccer in our world, and American football, he probably has never seen a game in his life. But kindly question to Roy Cammarano. He said that when he was in school, he was a footballer. Now here in our Restoring Hope Center, we have a football club for children who we feed and nurture and nurturing talents. Kindly, will you support us in bulk boots and training kit? It's a humble request from your due respect. Sorry for any inconvenience caused, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, Roy. And he had me going for a loop there. But in any event, so and for him in his world, soccer. I don't know what position did you play in football?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, in high school I was a lineman and a linebacker. In college I was a linebacker.
And were you? Did you play both ways in high school?
Yeah, but that it's just
Oh, no
It's a
doubt.
long time ago, my
Typical
friend.
football
A very
boys.
long
I
time
love
ago.
it.
And
Oh,
for your listener in Kenya, I want him to look up, find a friend of mine, Moses Watanabe. So we'll talk about Moses, who lives there, who's a very strong Christian fellow, and who we support in his ministry and doing some things. So we'll talk about that later, because there's obviously putting your money where your mouth is absolutely critical on a globalized basis. So absolutely, yes, we can talk about that.
and his name again is?
Moses Watanabe.
And I'm willing to bet Samuel knows him because
probably
they're kind of operating in the same world. So
Yep.
that's really very cool. And I got to tell you, Roy, that it's vital that you've done well, and you could be just going around just doing your own thing, but you're still wanting to give back. Talk about that a little bit, and what's motivating you to do that rather than to just it's like so many people of means. They sit around looking at the stock market and counting their money and not taking care of the people that they have in their world.
Well, I've been so blessed in my life with people who have given me opportunity when I truly didn't deserve that opportunity. When I didn't have the right experience, I didn't have the right pedigree, I didn't have the right grammar, whatever it was. And so, because I've been constantly given to and being given great opportunities, then what you have to understand, and I was baptized on 9/8/1957, just almost 28 days after I was born. So Christianity has been a huge part of my life. Yeah, 68. So Christianity has been a huge part of my life, my entire life, and it's been something that is just part of my culture, part of my soul. Right? There's tithing, and there's also investing in people, and people gave me opportunity, so I'm going to do that. The book that'll be coming out, I think, in 2026 is called The Entrepreneur's Toolbox, and the people I work with, and this card is a couple of the tools, and there's a whole bunch of other tools that hopefully people will get and understand it. And we have some people trying to take the 6 C's and put it into a different, taking it out of business, putting it into more personal relationships or professional relationships, or taking it to different levels. And it's just something that you have to give back. You have to live a life of service, period. End of conversation. I don't know any other way. My mom, my sister, Sunday school teachers, just constantly giving back. And the people who I've most admired in my life are people who just continue to contribute and continue to contribute. So you get a choice in your life. Be the person you're proud of, right? We talk a lot today on the internet about what would you tell your 19-year-old self? What would you tell your 20-year-old self, right? Well, in lots of these instances, what would the 20-year-old tell the 60-year-old person, what they want to become? And there's been lots of movies. Do you still have a dog when he meets his future self? And we have to be true to ourselves and make that the most important thing in our lives. And that means you have to be cognizant of who you are and what you want to be. And that means you have to be purposeful in your life, not be proactive, not reactive.
But that's where your power lies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I got to ask you, because this is a very, very important. Your baptism date was what?
9/8/57.
And so
September 8th.
and that was 28 days past your birth date?
28, August 10th.
August. So see, Brichelle, he is so much older than me. It's just remarkable, because I was
Thank
born
God
on
I have you
September.
both. It's like a double standard learning in the most professional college possible for free.
Right.
I was born on September 11th, 1957. So I'm a way much younger than you.
Yes, you are. I have
So,
a bunch.
But
A really
wait,
close
hold
friend who
on.
was
I
born
wanna
July
pull this
21st,
further
and
before we get involved, is because we're in a generational cycle right now just having this conversation. Everything that you've learned, Roy, and where you've taken it, and the person that you are deciding to be in your life, and then Kevin doing the same thing just slightly further down the line, and then me maybe damn it, maybe 40 years back. I'm trying to learn and do the same thing, and I think we can be humbled by the fact that there's We use a lot of things to define us and separate us, which is why Kevin and I do what we do, is to realize that we're all here to kind of help each other, right? So if
Agreed.
you wouldn't have learned those things and you wouldn't have been through that, and Kevin so forth, and then for me to be here and share that on even in the future,
Nice.
then that alone is honoring who you are and what you can be for yourself in the world.
For those people who will look at Kevin and I and say, wow, there's a lot of similarities, not just in features, but also in attitude and stuff like that. Look up the work of a behavioral sociologist named Morris Massey. Morris Massey wrote some things called You Are Now What You Were When. And he was able to really create predicted behaviors based on who you were, the generation you were born in, the years you were born in, and what you would become later in life. And then we have lots of other scientists where it used to be, he said, by the age of 19, you are who you are for the rest of your life, unless you experience a significant emotional experience. And we all understand that. A guy who's been kind of a criminal, and all of a sudden he has a child, and now he becomes a responsible man, or a woman who does this, or the person who's been obese their whole life and their partner has a heart attack, and suddenly they're doing things. The difference is we can determine what significance is, but to us individually, we don't know what significant is. You see a sunrise and you decide that you're changing your life. So he said, unless you, after the age of 19, unless you have a significant emotional experience, I took that to heart. And what I try and do in this life of adventure is to create significant emotional experiences so I can continue to grow, because you can be purposeful in those decisions. You can be purposeful. If you're going to live a life of adventure, go do where things are adventure. When I went to Kenya, I went to Kenya. I had a wonderful time. We did certain things with the church. We did other things in our just socialized areas, and then we did lots of touristy things. So, but you get to choose what your life is, and if you understand that it is your choice, it's your choice. We prioritize consistently, and we can either be, as Joel Osteen says, we can either be victims of our life or victors with our life. And again, regardless of your circumstances, born in the United States, to palaces or to poverty, born in Brazil, wherever you're born, it's the personal integrity, to use your word, Kevin, earlier, that you really have to drive towards and do there. Decide what you want to be, and then go be that. Decide what kind of person you want to be, and go be that person. That's your choice.
And by the way, Roy, I have to, if I could be so bold, is to correct you on something, because
Please.
you said that you received stuff that you had no business getting because people. I will fight you to the death on that particular
right.
one.
I agree with that. That's not my not recognizing those things. Yeah, I would not have been given the opportunities I was given by the people who gave them to me if they didn't have positive expectancy that I would be able to do it. And sometimes their confidence in me way exceeded my confidence in me.
They had a belief in you that you didn't even own until you proved it to yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. And that's a key thing right there, Kevin. Prove it to yourself. You're not proving it to anyone else, because when you do it for yourself, that causes that chain reaction and everybody sees it, but they're also learning that, hey, if that person like me, if Burchelle can do it, if she can be different, you can do it. And sometimes it's not about everyone and everything else. It's just about doing it for yourself and realizing you deserve that.
And understand it and believe it and know it, because that's how you but also, Roy, I want to say this: you had great energy, you had people that believed in you to a great degree, but you earned it. And you didn't sit on your laurels and say, wow, they think I'm great, I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to do whatever I want. You worked hard, you earned everything that you've gotten in life because of the work ethic that you have, which I'm sad to say that there are a lot of people that have not given that work ethic the time of day.
Yeah. They live at affect, not at effect. I said at 17 years old, I won the Pro Award, Persistency, Resourceful, and Optimism. That impacted me greatly. My mother's influence over me impacted me greatly. My father's pragmatism, the opportunities that if you're not willing to do the work for yourself, who would you be willing to do the work for? And we have on the internet today, we have this whole thing about, I'd be willing to die for my children. Well, are you willing to live for your children? Will you eat healthier? It's a whole different conversation. And it just changes the perspective on what you're doing. Because if you understand that you are living with purpose, there's a girl on the internet, just a young lady, and she says, if you're not changing it, you're choosing it. It's like, ooh.
Okay.
Well, Roy, we have to take a quick.
I can't take notes that fast.
Roy, we have to take a quick break, but you just said something that I want to play, and I'm astounded that you said this when I'll just play it. Here is another point to ponder by Positive Talk Radio. The world is full of people who would die for someone they love. But what about living for them? Waking up early to take care of your health. Letting go of the habits that steal your years. Choosing rest instead of running yourself empty. The truth is, your family doesn't want a hero who dies for them. They want a parent who stays. A friend who grows old with them. A soul who chooses life every single day. Don't just die for love. Live for it. Welcome back.
God is good.
I gotta tell you, because I created that, and it's like, and you just said it. So, Michelle, that's pretty weird, huh?
Not only is it weird because I haven't seen that video, so like, where did it come from? But it is true, because when you live for yourself, there's meaning, there's purpose in waking up in the morning. Instead of saying, well, what's going to happen today? How am I going to manage it? What am I going to do? How are things going to change? So it takes away all these, it deflects stress. And that's kind of what's killing us, is being so stressed and not just being more present. And that's exactly what you said brings us, because when you're focused on being alive, you kind of have to not focus on being dead. And it made me think too, because a lot of these times too, Roy, me and Kevin have talked about this, where it's difficult sometimes for people to take these acknowledgments and what they see in themselves and not create a prideful security around it, and be free flowing through it with confidence and understanding. Do you help people do that? Like, does that make sense? Do you understand?
Well, yeah. When you look at confidence and competence, there's lots of people who are competent but have way more confidence, and there's lots of people who are confident and don't have enough competence. Right? We have cute little sayings to address that. Seldom right but never in doubt being one of those conversations.
Hey, I had a boss like that on several occasions.
We all have experiences of other people and ourselves doing all of that. So, the thing that I really like to instill in people is that you're personally responsible for yourself. And there's a great guy who's a mental health professional. He talks about this. He says, if when you were born, within a period of time, when you understood it and you were given a human to take care of and make sure that human was always taken care of and always well, and all these things, and you go on, but it was your job to take care of that human, what are all the things you would do? And then when you get done talking about it, then it's that realization of, well, that's what you've been charged with yourself, is taking care of yourself. You're that human. And it's just this whole different view of it. before I had that analogy, I had the car analogy, which was if you were only ever given one car in your life, how would you, when I was selling health club memberships, how well would you take care of that car? Would you change the oil? Would you make sure it had fuel? Would you make sure that the tires were good? Would you make sure, since that had to last you your entire life, how hard would you work at taking care of it? And then the question is, how hard do you work at taking care of your body? Right. And it's a way in which for people to become profound and understand things. So I like to talk to people about proactive living versus reactive living. And Michelle, earlier you said something about, do we have to continuously change? And the answer is no. But it's fruit. So it's not ripening, it's rotting. And that continuous move forward is what you have to do. And I think, again, nature teaches us this, right? Nature teaches us this. And that Charles Darwin, he's credited with saying something like survival of the fittest, right? And he didn't. He said survival of the most adaptable. And as humans, it's our opportunity to adapt.
Because that's where it comes down to choice.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Kevin.
She just had another epiphany, Roy. because the really cool thing about life is it's a grand adventure, and if we treat it as a grand adventure that we get to, and it also can be very empowering when we say to ourselves, you can do anything that you want. You have the ability to be anything and do anything you want to do, and then know it, and then believe it, and then act on it. And then if there's something that you really want to do, then you become good at it, and you can do that. And I'm so impressed, Roy, by the amount of reading that you have done about all of these things, and philosophy and religion and faith and spirituality and all the things that you are, because that is helping you grow and continue to move forward, right?
It's a cheat code for the world, right? It's that getting information. I have on my desk a book that is called Steal Like an Artist, right? Which, allows you to look for things. And I've used that my entire life before. So like an artist, it's kind of one of these things, if I took one thing from one person and I told you to it, that's plagiarism. But if I take a lot of things from a lot of people, that's research. My information is very well researched. And I made an investment in, I'm going to say the early 90s, in a thing called photo reading, which was, if you know about Evelyn Wood's speed reading, well, this was photo reading. It was slightly different, and I got really good at it. So I could take a book, and in 10 minutes, I could take a book, and I would have an 80%, 85% retention. I just used it all the time. And then throughout the years, I'd be like, man, this is, I'm reading all this stuff, and I'm getting really good at it. And today, what I do is I just take the titles of the top 5 books, and I asked ChatGPT all the information I need of these 5 books based on all the information that you know about me, based on all the writings I've done, the books I've written. What are the most important learnings I can get out of this book that I can apply and implement immediately in my life? And then ChatGPT gives me a cheat sheet. Then I say, okay, expand upon this. Tell me how this would work. And all of a sudden, in 15 minutes, I'm able to have accomplished something that used to take me 3 or 4 days.
Because you are willing to use the resources that are now available to you because you're adjusting to the change.
Persistency, resourcefulness, and optimism. Persistency, if you watch every TED Talk, the most important critical factor for those people who accomplish in their life is grit, another word for persistency. If you listen to Tony Robbins, it's not about the resources you have, it's about resourcefulness, right? That ability to be resourceful. And if you look at optimism, and if you look at all of these, how you attract things into your life, right? Optimism bias and what you want out of your life, that's optimism. So if you're persistent, resourceful, and optimistic, then you have a much better chance. And if you, that persistency is that ability to constantly strive to be better. I've learned that there's 2 things in my life. I'm going to constantly strive to be better, and I have to listen to the things that I don't do well, because if I don't learn from them, they become more and more and more painful until it's eventually like getting hit over the head with a 2x4. And, I prefer not to get hit over the head with a 2x4 and things I need to learn. So you just have to be in a constant state of learning. The Dalai Lama said, if you're talking, you already know it. If you're listening, you have an opportunity to learn. And, it's been very difficult for me because I like to talk and people tell me I'm good at it. But what I do is I listen better than I talk. I listen to learn, not to respond.
That's a rare skill, by the way, because a lot of people don't do that. They want to talk because they can hear themselves talk. When I was a district sales manager, and I would go on a sales call with a sales guy, and they spent the entire time rehearsing what they were going to say. They had their spiel down and stuff, and so they would say their spiel, and then I would watch them and the customer interact, because the customer would then say something, and the sales guy, rather than listening to what the guy was saying or the gal was saying, he was formulating his comeback already before, so he didn't even listen to what they were saying.
Yeah, listening to respond versus listening to learn. When you're listening to learn, you're a sponge. When you're listening to respond, you're a brick.
And by the way, Samuel, and by the way, he's in Kenya, and he's got 20 people in his learning center listening to this show right now. And he
Beautiful.
said, very, very great, powerful, inspirational show. Thank you, Brother Roy. So now you're his brother,
Nice.
and that is so cool.
Very
Yes, and it's great to have you. And we're going to run out of time. Rochelle, we're running out of time again. Uh-oh, she disappeared. So so apparently she has run out of time.
Yes.
But Roy, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, if somebody wants you to mentor them or talk to them or to find your books, what's the best way to explore?
I wish I had a good answer for that. RoyCammarano.com. The marketing side of my business is not all that great. I've got a great team. Christine, who you've met, is probably the most likable person. They'll take care of the stuff off the internet. If people want me to speak, it's a pretty easy process. If they want to get my book, it's a pretty easy process. I can send it to them digitally. But RoyCammarano.com has pretty much all the contact information that you need to get a hold of me.
And by the way, you have a wonderful assistant.
She is not my assistant. She is. There are days where I believe I work for her. Christine is one of the most powerful human beings I've ever met. Worked with her in a couple of different businesses now. She is absolutely unbelievable. When she was getting her MBA, she was mentored by Jack Walsh, the former, from GM. So, GE rather. Yeah. So just a spectacular human being.
And Rochelle, anything before we go? And I want you to take us out.
Well, I've got 1,000,010 things now going through my brain. Troy, for one, thank you so much for engaging in this conversation to show people, especially me at my age, what's possible. I hear a lot of us saying exactly what we've talked about of what we're willing to die for, but we're not focused on what to live for. So having you here to share that message with us at the end of this week is more powerful than you can possibly imagine. And once again, I would love for you to share your website and your book and ways that people can get in contact with you, and then any message you'd like to leave us for with the day.
Well, I think for many of the people out there, you can take the words of John Kennedy: ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. You're accountable. You're responsible for your own life. Live at effect, not at affect. Make a choice, make a decision, and be absolutely committed to yourself and your growth. The most critical thing, the thing that's going to cost you the most, is your ability to pay attention and be continuously learning. And if you're not willing to continuously learn, then you're not ripening, you're rotting. So please figure out a way to ripen and figure out a way to create an environment around you that people want to listen to you and you want to listen to them. When we talk about my open, honest, and direct in a positive, nurturing environment, over the years that has transitioned to mean different things. And in today's vernacular, open, honest, and direct is being translated into be transparent, be authentic. And a positive, nurturing environment is be kind. If I can encourage you to be anything, be authentic and be kind.
Roy, it's just amazing how great minds think alike, because
Yeah,
I've also
just
got
gonna
something.
say that.
I've got something called authentic grit. GRIT is an acronym for gratitude, resilience, integrity, and toughness. And it's on my website. People can go to positivetalkradio.net. Roy, thank you so much for being here. You're going to have to do. I'm going to drag you back here to do this again because we got more to talk about, sir.
Loved it. Thank you. Enjoy.
Thank you so much, and have a great day, everybody. And Brachelle, say goodbye before we go.
Goodbye, everybody. We love you, and join us back in for an amazing last episode on this Friday. Thank you, Troy. We love you, and I can't wait to see you again.
And by the way, it's Roy.
Roy,
Yes.
Troy.
That's okay. One of my best friends is a guy named Troy. I'm going next week to visit him in Arizona. So we constantly get this issue, Roy and Troy. So it's no different than
exactly for who you
I'm
are.
like,
And we
how do you
love
know Troy? That's all I was like, how do you know Troy?
Well, you can be anything you want to be. And I think you just
That's
proved that
right.
point. Thanks, everybody, and we love you, Troy.
Thanks.
Roy, oh my gosh. I'll get it right next time, I promise.
I'm the one who's supposed to have trouble with names.
I'm letting you win today.
Oh, thank you.
Girl. All right.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for being part of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald, where stories inspire and voices remind us of what truly matters. May today's conversation give you hope, courage, and a reason to keep moving forward. And just remember, till next time, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.